Today I'm going to be doing a review on the Austin Paddle Company 11-foot rustic paddleboard. I've been kayaking for about 25 years. I've had many different types of kayaks. I'm also a boat captain on the weekends. This summer I've been chartering boats, and the company I work for doesn't have any paddle boards, but some of the other ones did. And after using those a few times and seeing how much fun everyone else has that ever gets on the paddleboard, I finally decided to get one. So I'm going to compare what it's been like having kayaks and what it's like compared to paddleboarding. That's going to be what comes up later. Another reason I wanted to get a paddleboard, inflatable in particular, is because of space. So if you're limited on space, an inflatable paddleboard, it can be pretty perfect. In fact, I'll get into that, but that's something I've already noticed that I love, is the small space that it takes up. So let's get to it. Let's take a look at the paddleboard first, and then I'm going to get out and use it a little bit, and I'll tell you at the end of it all what I think. So first of all, it comes with this really awesome backpack bag to carry it in. Some of the features that I really like about it is, for one, it's really large. You can fit so much in here, not just the paddleboard, but clothes and things like that. The owner of the company that owns Austin Paddleboard, he travels all over the world, and he uses this bag and puts his clothes and everything in it, flies off with it, and he's set. So anyway, I see why he likes it. It cinches down. Like right now, all I have is the paddleboard, the hand pump, everything that it came with actually, but there's so much more room. I just cinched it down so it keeps it from flopping around. So you've got these cinch straps. It really helps keep it close to your back. It's got extremely comfortable shoulder straps here, a sternum strap, waist straps to take the weight off a little bit. I tried it a little while, and you need to make this kind of tight, but when you do, it does take some of the weight off. So if you're walking further, this backpack's actually pretty dang good. The backpack has a clam style opening, so it opens all the way up like that, which is really cool. I like backpacks that have that design for camping and things as well. It comes with everything you need to kind of get started. It's got this nice manual pump. It's a double action, and a lot of companies don't even include that. So what that means is as you lift up on the handle, it also airs up while you're lifting it. Comes with the paddle. We'll get into that later. And the backpack, one of the little features I like is this little cinch strap here, so that you can keep the paddleboard cinched down against your back, and clothes, towels, and extra things can be all out in here, and but this keeps it nice and sturdy and secure close to your back where most of the weight is. So I like that little design there. It comes with the attachment strap to put around your ankle and attach to the board. It's got a waterproof little pouch for the phone. Mine actually has two main fins, so there's an extra one in here somewhere. I'm not sure if that was an accident or if it comes with two. This is the repair kit. All of that fits in this pouch right here. Plenty of room for more as well. All right, let's get this thing unrolled. Like I said, this is the Rustic model. It's 11 feet in length. It's 34 inches in width and 6 inches thick when it's aired up. So this is more of a stable type of design. It's got the bungee, the little netting back here to strap bags to. There's one up here too that's a little bit bigger, so a backpack can go up in the front. The paddle could slide up underneath it. It's got 3 handles. You've got one in the middle here, so when you're carrying it and walking with it inflated, you've got one in the back. You've got one up in the front there with their logo, Austin Paddle Company logo on there. D-rings. The D-rings on here, there's considerably more D-rings than most other paddle boards anywhere near this price range that I found. You've got, let's see, one in the back. You've got 6 there for the netting, 4 there, and then there's 2 more here. It's got Velcro straps for the paddle right here. It's got a thicker layer on the side. The owner told me it's 2-layer or 2-ply, and I'm not sure how that counts with the side. That might, maybe that's a little third or extra, but it's definitely, it feels thicker on the side here. It's got the nice diamond kind of pad on the top. Most of it's pretty basic from what I can tell from other paddle boards. This is extremely similar to what I've seen on the lake that other boat charter companies use. They use something very similar. A lot of rental companies use designs that are similar to this. But it definitely has a few other features that I didn't find on other paddle boards in the same price. I believe this is $325, and it's because it's about 6 inches longer than the other ones. The other designs that they have are $300. So anyway, all right, so that's the top, and the bottom has their logo on the bottom here. So I like the little wood grain. Of course, you know, I've got a thing for trees, so I'm a sucker. It's got a place for the main fin here, and then 2 other smaller fins right here, little cover to keep them from busting other things up. I personally like the 3-fin design because it's supposed to be a little more stable than, say, like a single fin. So you've got these here, and with the waves that we get on Lake Travis, which is where I'll probably spend a good bit of my time, and other state parks, but with the boats, it gets pretty big. The waves get pretty big and very windy. All right, so I'm gonna inflate it with the manual pump that it came with. I can see a battery powered pump in my future, but we'll see. I wanted to do this with what it came with. Okay, so that's been about 7 minutes. I found that whenever it got to about 8 pounds, 9 and 10, kind of for sure, 9 or 10, it got to be considerably more difficult to pump up, but definitely not impossible by any means. But the first 7 pounds, I think a young child could do it, or someone that might not be overly, might not be in excellent shape would be fine with the first part. I'm in pretty good shape, and up until, yeah, 7 was totally cool. 8, easy. Yeah, it was 9 and 10, started to feel it a little bit. I took a break at about 11 PSI to just take a quick drink a little bit of water. It's 92 degrees here in Austin. And anyway, took a little break. I'm gonna keep going. The other thing, since it's double action, this little red thing right here, this little tab, when you have it in like this, it pumps up when you're pulling, and it pumps when you push as well. So once it got to about 9 or 10 PSI, I took that out like that. It's easy to pull it up. So there you are. That's about 11, that's 11 PSI. Okay, so that's 14 PSI. I'm gonna do 14 and kind of see how that feels. But yeah, it's totally doable. It's not terrible, but I wouldn't want to pump that all the way up to 14 or 15 PSI in 100-degree weather like we've been having. 92, it's about, anyway, so it's totally doable. And if you're in decent shape, average shape, you can most certainly pump that all the way up to 14, 15 pounds. But if you have maybe shoulder injuries or a bad back, you're fine until you get to about 7 PSI. I'm going to look into a battery powered pump just because, keep it simple, easy, you know, have it air up while I'm doing other things. But anyway, for this review, I wanted to do it with what it came with. And it comes with a very capable pump. The quality seems to be pretty good. I've seen other pumps out there that don't have the double action. So I love that it does. I wouldn't want to do this with a single action. All right, so I'm gonna put the stuff in the bag. Lake Travis is really low, and I'm at Mansfield Dam Park, and I can't drive my truck down to the water, it seems, where I would like to just kind of like put it right on in. I'm gonna have to walk it down, so no big deal. It's another reason I like This only weighing, I don't know, 20 something, 18, 20 pounds, 22, I don't know what it weighs. I need to weigh it. But it's way lighter than my 9.5 foot kayak. Anyway, yeah. And the pump, not a big deal. Anyway, all right, let's get this going. Okay, here it is pumped up, and I'm really digging the quality. Absolutely, certainly for the price point. I'm actually really surprised. I don't know how they can be this price. But I love the wood grain look and the padding. The D-rings, I think those are gonna come in real helpful, real handy. It doesn't weigh much. Whenever I picked it up and put it under my arm with this, holding this strap, I'm like, oh my goodness, it's so nice, it's so light. But okay, so we got this, it's nice and tight now. Really looks good. It looks really good. Actually, I'm real happy with it. And let's check this bottom out. Let's see if we can see that, if I can lift this without, yeah. There you go. There's the bottom. I dig it. I'm gonna put the main fin on here when I get down to the water, but all right, let's go see what it's like. It's much more stable than other paddle boards for sure. It's much more stable. Wider, maybe a little longer, but it handles the chop pretty well. Anyway, I'm about to drift back into the shore. It goes downwind really fast. I think it's about the resistance of the body being up into the wind that just makes a big difference. And like kayaking, you know, you're much lower and it's a little more aerodynamic. And this is an inflatable versus like a hard shell. So makes a difference there, but yeah. The wind was really strong and it was really loud on the microphone. So I wanted to voice over this part here. One of the things I was really enjoying about the paddleboard, and one of the things I love about kayaking, is going into really shallow water that you wouldn't want to take typical boats, but being up above and looking at everything below, and the paddleboard being so low, you can just get on and off really easy. I loved that. That was definitely one of the big advantages of a paddleboard. And this really thick seaweed, I wouldn't want to wade or swim in it, but just kind of floating over it and checking it out was really nice. I was really appreciating the paddleboard at this point. The little features on here, the straps and the D-rings, really digging the board and definitely enjoying myself at this time. I was kind of falling in love with the thing. All right, let's get to the final review here. Okay, so after being out there for most of the day, which I was planning on coming back sooner, but I was having so much fun. I needed today. I feel like a paddle board is kind of a game changer for the way that I get on the water. I've been boating since I was 16. I've had a lot of boats, nothing real fancy, but I've probably had about 26 boats, and I've had a lot of kayaks. I'm not sure how many, but I've never had this paddle board. And it's different than all of them. There's really nothing that fits all of the categories, whether it's a car, a boat, anything. But what a paddleboard seems to do is it really nails this one particular area, which is not necessarily touring really far. That's when I think a kayak's better. A trip-specific kayak, or going more than a few miles for sure, that a kayak is better. But for a paddleboard, what it really did was give me access to just swimming around, hanging out, relaxing, seeing things I wouldn't normally see. So I'm a big fan of paddleboards now, and I can see why they've kind of taken off, why it's kind of a big deal. Let's go over some of the pros and cons. As far as the pro, one of my favorite pros is the fact that it collapses like this. That's the inflatable type. You know, the hard shells won't work like that, but an inflatable, it compacts really small like this. It also makes it really great for walking to where you're going. In this case, the ramp was closed because the water's really low. It can be hiked in just a little bit, not terribly far, but it's so much easier than a kayak. So much easier. It's lighter, everything's in the bag. So the portability aspect, just amazing. I love that a lot. the weight of it being really lightweight is easy to move around and things like that. The difference that I find is it's really close to the level of, it's really close to the water line. So that makes it really easy to get in and out or on and off of it. I got on and off and I loved that. It's kind of like a, it's just like a big, it's kind of like a pontoon for boats. There's a lot of space, it's flat, a lot of real estate. I would love to see people tying up on it, like together. I'm a captain on the weekends, and we have a place called Devil's Cove, and a lot of boats go there and tie up. It's a party place. And one boat is fine on its own, but when you tie them all up, it really changes the energy. I feel like paddle boards, if they're tied up together, then you could have a string of them and just people bring their own stuff, walk around. It's kind of like a little platform. I think that would be really cool. Having an anchor, I didn't bring one, but a small lightweight anchor would be really helpful just to kind of hang out on it, just chill. Yeah, I really loved how easy it was to get on and off, and just all of the space that was on there. I can grab whatever I wanted from the water, not even get out of the water. Let me tell you another thing that really goes well with this. This thing right here, it's a Sun Comfort saddle, and you float on it just kind of like, you know, most people use a life jacket to kind of float around on. But anyway, I had a guest on one of the charters give me this, and it was so sweet of her. She couldn't fly back with it, so she gave it to me, and I've used it a couple of times. I've mainly loaned it to some of my guests, but today with a paddleboard, this is like freaking perfect. Just anchor the paddleboard off or tie it off to something, float around with this, hanging out with the friends and stuff, and then you have the paddleboard that can have all of your things on it, get on and off. Anyway, something like this would be great. But yeah, this is the Sun Comfort brand, but anything like this would be good. Okay, so some other things that I realized, with a lot of wind, the paddleboard is not the best for that. And I'm talking like 13 miles an hour and above. When I stood up, it was really hard to go directly against the wind. And I think it's the torque and the leverage when standing up. There's much more of the paddle. And so whenever I needed to go into the wind faster, which was any time basically going into the wind, I would kneel down, and it was drastically different, much better. So if you're going into high wind, you definitely want to be able to kneel down. The other thing I noticed is that it doesn't track quite as well as a kayak. It kind of drifts a little bit with the wind. It wasn't nearly as bad as I thought, but there's a little bit of a drift, and yeah, standing up basically going into the wind is not nearly as good. So the things that I really liked about it, it's compact. The quality is good. It's got a lot of the D-rings. I love those D-rings. The diamond kind of plate padding was comfortable. I like the look. That's just personal. I like that a lot. I love the backpack. The backpack is really good for moving it around and putting everything in there that I needed. I like the price. The price is really good, $325. The other ones that they have are 300, and this one's 11 foot. The other ones are 10'6". I don't think that the 6 inches makes a difference, and this one's 1 inch wide, or I don't think that made a big difference at all. I like the customer service. Brad, the owner, was really friendly, and it's nice to support a local company, in my case being in Austin. The things I don't like about it, there's not many. In fact, there's mainly one, and I can fix this. The elastic netting in the very front, or both of them actually, they're not adjustable. So they're nice and tight for things that are kind of shallow, but if you want to put something larger, like maybe a couple of life jackets, or definitely like any kind of a cooler or ice chest, it's too tight. I would like it to have an adjustment on the bungee cord. And if that's that big of a deal to me, next time I use it, I'll just get a bungee cord with one of those little adjusters on it. So that's easy to fix. Other than that, there really isn't anything I didn't like about it. Who it's for? It's for someone who is looking for something that doesn't take up much space, wants to get out on the water. Maybe you have a boat, maybe you have a kayak, but you want something a little easier to move around and just kind of go last minute. Or maybe you're going camping to a state park that has a lake or a river, and maybe you'll want something. This takes up almost no space, so bring it. It's great for that. Someone that wants exercise, there's a lot of core exercises going on, or a lot of little bit of a core exercise going on by the paddling and just standing up and balance. So yeah, it's good for someone that's wanting to get a little bit of exercise, that wants to have fun while doing that. This particular one being 34 inches wide, maybe someone larger, maybe their balance isn't so good. This felt stable, like really stable. I don't need it to be as stable as this is, but that's okay. I actually kind of wanted something stable, but it's totally like freaking rock solid. But if someone maybe doesn't have great balance, this is really good for that. I've been on a couple of paddle boards, and this is easily the most stable one that I've been on myself. It's for someone who doesn't like to sit down in a kayak. Even a sit on top, you're still kind of sitting kind of with the legs out, but certainly a sit inside, that actually hurts my back. My kayak that I have now, it's a sit inside, and it hurts my back after a while. Standing up is much better. So if someone has a low back issue and standing up is better for you, this might be great because it gives a little bit of movement, but not a whole lot. It's not overly difficult. This board would be good for someone who's kind of getting into it and wanting to see if they like it or not and don't want to spend a whole lot. There's some inexpensive boards out there. I can't believe how inexpensive boards are these days. So, you know, even if it's not this one, other ones like that are good to kind of just check and see if you like it or not. It's good to know what you like and don't like before you start spending a lot of money on things. And the price on this one, $325 and $300 for the other ones they have, I think that's a sweet spot. One thing I did learn is I'm going to want an electric pump. Pumping it up, not too big of a deal. It really wasn't, and it's totally doable. But pumping it up and then taking the air out, it needs to be pumped out. And I did that with the manual pump, and it did that great. But I would like to just not mess with it. That's just personally. It'd be nice to just kind of not mess with that and have it being pumped up while I am getting other stuff. So that's personal preference, but the manual pump worked totally fine. So yeah, to summarize, I absolutely loved today. I needed it. It was very relaxing, which is the reason we get things like this. It's not to like brag and show them off, it's to use them. And today I needed what this little guy provided. I needed to relax. I needed to just calm down and chill, and it was perfect. So for chilling out, it's gonna be hard to beat something like this. So yeah, if you're looking for a paddleboard or you're interested in it, check out Austin Paddle Company or some of the other ones that are online that are less expensive, but give you what you need. This one really seems to have the quality that I'm looking for, and the price point is ridiculous. I cannot believe what comes with it and the quality of it for this price. So Austin Paddle Company, particularly if you're in Austin, I totally recommend. Brad was great. He was really friendly, and they have events that I'm looking forward to going to. Rookie mistake, the camera battery died yesterday during the review right at the end, and I said pretty much everything I wanted to say. There's just a couple other things I wanted to mention. I think that kayaking in particular is better for colder weather, like in the winter or cold water. It protects you better from the wind, splashes, waves, bad weather. I think a kayak's better, particularly if you put a kayak skirt on a sit-in kayak. That certainly would be better than, say, a paddleboard. It leaves you much more exposed on a paddleboard. But for warm months, paddleboarding is really great. It's inviting, it's convenient. It just encourages a person to just go out on the water and go see places, bring some food, bring some drinks, have some friends and just hang out and float around. It's really great for that. But I do think paddleboarding's better for the warmer months or with a wetsuit possibly, which we'll see what happens this coming winter or maybe this fall. I feel like I'm going to want to get out there. But yeah, when it's cold, you're just much more exposed. But I loved it. I had a very good time. I had more fun than I thought I was going to have. And I'm so glad that I got the paddleboard. It's worth every cent. And even if I had spent much more, I think it's worth multiple times more to have a proper paddleboard for whatever it is that you want to use, whether it's something like this or others. It really is an experience, and it's a great way to be on the water with or without having a boat. It really opens up the possibilities for getting out on water, and the accessibility is hard to beat, I think. Anyway, if you have any questions, post them in the comments. I'd love to hear from you. If you have any tree questions, check out my other channel that I'm going to be gearing more towards that. I really want to make that something completely separate, and that's really helping people save their trees, and I do want to do that. But this channel, it's going to be a little bit more all over the place. I have a lot of interest, a lot of hobbies, a lot of things I like to do, and I think it's nice to see that, maybe encourage, inspire, looking at some of the places I go or the things that I do. I know I'm inspired by many people. There's a lot of the things that I do that I've been inspired by someone else, or I learn from them when it's something that not many people do. So maybe I can help with that. It would make me feel good if I could. All right, I look forward to hearing from y'all, and I hope y'all have a great week. Bye.